Is there such a thing as a cheat-prone relationship? Well, I don't really know the answer to that. I think there's many behaviors that we look for as professionals that make different couples more likely to face betrayal or infidelity. And if I had to find several or identify a couple of them, one of them would for sure be a passive-aggressive person. You see, passive-aggressive people, they don't communicate well. And when you break down communication, that's the number one factor that you need to have a healthy marriage. We aren't always sure how to teach couples to communicate, because when couples are together and they're preparing for marriage, what usually happens is they'll come into the office and say, we need to learn to communicate better. That's a huge topic, but very rarely will they come in and say, I'm passive aggressive or my partner's passive aggressive. And that's what I'm really getting at. That's what I want to know. There are signs, even when you're dating, that you can look for to know if your partner is more prone to passive aggressive. Because the thing is, you don't need to break up with them. You don't need to just label them and let them be. The minute that your partner who is passive aggressive understands that this is the label for it, they can begin working on it. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how better to do that. So the first one is indirect communication. They avoid expressing anger or disagreements. They're basically very easy to get along on the surface. Instead of saying, I'm upset, they give the silent treatment. Or they say things like, I'm fine, but you know they're not. Sarcasm or backhanded type compliments. If you've ever gotten one of those, you know what they're like. They regularly make sarcastic remarks or jokes that have a sting to them. Like, for example, oh, I love how you always ignore me when you're so busy. That's sarcastic. That's backhanded compliment, and it's angry. But they won't come out and say I'm angry. And that's why they usually will behave in a way where the anger has a right to come out. And I'm using right because when you talk to these people about cheating, they'll usually say, well, I had a right. I was mistreated or whatever. Procrastination or withholding. They agree to do something, but then they delay or they forget. Or, they're kind of making a form of resistance. You ask them to do something and they say, yeah, sure, I'll get it done. But they don't. And they don't because it's something they have control over. And they didn't have the courage to tell you at the time, or the communication ability to tell you at the time, that they were not going to do it, or it was further down on their list. They guilt trip you a lot. They subtly make you feel guilty for having needs or expressing emotions. Must be nice to always get what you want. That's the kind of stuff they say. They're being passive aggressive. They blame shift and they victimize. So they'll make themselves a victim. They often paint themselves as a victim in a situation, a victim of you. Or, I guess I'm always the bad guy. Or you'll see this a lot with couples during parenting. They'll refer to the bad guy and the good guy. And someone who victimizes themselves does that as a safe space for them. They feel like they can't deal with the confrontation. So they turn the situation around so that you should feel sorry for themselves. Or they'll blame other people. They are likely to withhold affection or attention. Instead of talking about the issue and what they need and what they need to change, they talk about other things, or they completely withhold. Or if you try to give them a hug, they'll push you away or resist it, or you don't want to give them a hug. Basically, they find a way to withdraw and punish you physically. And they will do sabotaging things, like they may accidentally do things that inconvenience you or undermine your plans, like leaving late on purpose to meet you somewhere where they're supposed to. They will tell you they didn't mean to do that, but they did. A part of their passive-aggressive behavior absolutely did. And whether it's unconscious or what, that's the deal. You have to make it more conscious. If you're still not sure, then I think ask yourself, does this person get defensive or shut down when we're trying to have a discussion? Do they try to make you feel guilty for bringing something up that needs to be attended to? Or do they use humor or sarcasm to dodge sessions or things that they're responsible? Really important conversation. Now, the way you get over this is, first of all, like I said, you need the self-awareness. And if you have this, you don't need to feel like you failed as a person or you're a terrible person. You need to understand this was part of one of your parents' style of conversation, and it's in your brain. You watched it as a kid. You know how to do it. It's your default. So going to a therapist and working with someone or talking to your spouse and saying, let me practice. And instead of going into the default and catching yourself when you do go into the default and being honest about it, bring it up. Try being honest. Try saying exactly what you feel when you feel it. It'll be awkward. It'll feel scary at first, but I think you and your partner would be much wiser to work on it from this angle, so you don't have to go out and act out a betrayal or hurting your partner as a way of getting back at them for something you weren't able to say. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.